Mario 64 is the game. Sure, Pong was the first video game, and sure, Mario Bros. 1... Wait, I think I've done this before. The Nintendo DS is one of the best-selling video game systems of all time. Even as someone who was born after the release of the DS, I still had a cobalt blue and black DS that my sister and my mom bought for me when I was a kid. I don't have it anymore because I don't know where it is, and it breaks my heart more than I can put into words. It brought attention back to Nintendo after the financial flop that was the GameCube, made them a household name again, and even saw the revival of 2D Mario games, the start of Mario Kart being a must-have game on every system that it was put on, the best Pokemon games ever made, WarioWare really hitting its stride, the Brain Age games, and so much more. One of those things was a major launch title for the system, Mario 64 DS, a game I loathe with every fiber of my being. I used to hate Mario 64 in general as a kid. The controls were too clunky, the stars were cryptic, the camera was bad, etc, etc. But as I grew up, I got a better handle on the controls. I learned to just let the camera do its thing, and that it was better not to fight it. I learned why Mario would do a semicircle when turning around and why other times he wouldn't. I learned how to control myself better in midair, and how to handle slopes, and how to tell how long Mario had left before he would start sliding on them. I even got better at the admittedly strict wall jump timing. I've gotten 120 stars like 3 times. I've beaten the game in less than 30 minutes, and I've beaten it without getting a single corner using BLJs. The game gradually went from one I strongly disliked to one I'm quite fond of. Then I bought Mario 64 DS on the Wii U Virtual Console, and... oh boy, let me explain.
Mario 64 DS is the biggest missed opportunity since that time I took my son to the Grand Canyon. Mario 64 DS is just sort of a glorified tech demo in my eyes. It was just Nintendo saying, look, we can put 3D games on our handheld console. Okay, but then why would I play this version of the game outside of marveling that my oversized calculator can run a game from 1996? That's why they threw in all this pandering stuff. They didn't even do it right. You can play as Luigi now, but you can't wall jump. There's no levels! But they only have 1 star. The old levels have no stars. But they're just chasing silver stars or beating a timer. Okay, then why should I care about this game? You shouldn't. Okay, I am admittedly being unfair. There are things to care about in this game. But I'm not going to list them before going into the bad stuff like every YouTube essayist does. Forcing yourself to say nice things before you tear a game apart is the same effect as putting a band-aid on a bullet wound. And then shooting them again. Part 1. The new stars. Every kid that played the original Mario 64 wondered if there were stars outside of the big 120. They wondered about ghost medallions, cold crevices, Bowser rooms, and so on. They wondered if you go into the cave where the eel is sleeping. They wondered if the paintings that didn't seem to work could take you somewhere if you bent over backwards, clapped your hand 3 times, and used strength on the truck. But there wasn't. That didn't stop stupid kids in the 90s from coming up with ideas, though. When you're remaking one of the most speculated about and nostalgic games of all time, you have to be an idiot to not realize, oh, we could take those ideas that the fans had and actually make them a part of the game. We could take errors in the levels and add new stars that actually take advantage of parts that dumb little kids spent hours scratching their heads trying to solve. But they didn't. Instead, you just collect silver stars. Get 5 and you can redeem it for a free Big Mac at participating McDonald's branches. Term supplies expires December 18th, 2005. Or you just press a button and race against a timer to get the star in time. Well, these aren't bad ideas on paper. In fact, they actually create some interesting player-level interactions. Telling the player to race across the level in an allotted time not only tests their knowledge of the level, but their skills at controlling the game. Telling players to search for 5 silver stars means they explore the level and get more familiar with it. It's not an excuse to reuse them in every frickin' level. Why not have a way to enter the pirate ship once it's floating above the water again? Why not have a way to get a ghost medal? Why not have the Peach mural in front of the castle be something you can shoot yourself into with the cannon? And so you just have catching the stupid rabbit as a reward. Nobody liked MIPS when you only had to catch him twice. Why would you make it so you have to do it like 50 times? And why are they character specific? Donkey Kong 64 literally made this mistake 10 years ago. Why did you do this? What's wrong with your face? Everyone remembers how it felt the first time they played Mario 64. The world was confusing and huge, but making discoveries felt incredible. Remember the first time I found the hidden town in Wet Dry World? I felt like a Guinness, or the first time I found the metal cap switch at Hazy Maze Cave. I don't feel compelled by punching some obvious bricks. I don't feel awe every time I collect the same 5 silver stars. I don't have the same feeling of wonder at the prospect of there being some hidden area that I didn't check provided in the original. I don't want to explore flat, small stages with only 1 star to collect in them. That's not to say I dislike the new stages they added. I actually like Goomboss's stage quite a bit. I don't hate the other 2 either. It's just that they're so small that they don't feel like levels. They don't feel like worlds that are lived in. It doesn't feel like I'm venturing into a new place that I'll get to become accustomed to over time. They feel like field trips. And and I hated field trips. Why they didn't at least make 1 or 2 full new levels is beyond me. Now you could say, well, even if you think the new stars and levels are underwhelming, it's objectively more content than the original, it's just better. And to that I say, if I were to put 2 plates in front of you, one of which had a delicious sandwich on it, and the other had one that was bigger and better with more ingredients, but had a few jalapeno stems in there, and a few pieces of lettuce that were kind of slimy, are you gonna enjoy the peanut butter and jelly less than a sandwich you gotta stop and pick the gross stuff out of every now and then? No, just give me the PB&J. I don't even like jalapeno. Part 2, the
The controls. Alright, now, I'm not about to tell you that the original controls were great, or that they were even better than the new ones. The only reason I like the old controls is because I spent hours and hours over multiple years figuring out their quirks. So you can criticize the old one on how it controlled, but the new one also just feels wrong to me. First off, there's a run button. Already no. Just no. Having to manually press the run button just overcomplicates the controls in my opinion. In the original, all you had to worry about were the 2 face buttons, jump and attack. Now you need to run, jump, and attack all with the same thumb. While that can work in some games, it just feels counterintuitive while playing Mario 64. Also, I hate the stupid run in place thing. It makes it so that you can't just hold the run button all the time to play normally. You can't take a break to survey what's ahead of you without being like, oh wait, I just need to let go of the button you naturally hold if it is in a Mario game. Cool. Like seriously, imagine if you're playing New Super Mario Bros. 1 and you had to let go of the run button every time you stopped. This is what this is like. It's stupid. On top of that, the turning is super wide and I hate it. In Mario 64, you could snap your character in different directions, but in DS, your run is just wrong. I can't even explain how or why it feels bad, it just does. Mario 64 was built around Mario's controls. Changing that feels like... I don't even have an analogy. It's the same reason why I hate Mario 3D World on the Switch. They made the characters faster, and now the carefully designed levels are totally null. You either go so fast you skip everything, or you have to awkwardly adjust for jumps that would have been easy in the original. It feels like the developers got bored with the game and just wanted to get it over with. It feels almost disrespectful, honestly. Like someone took a marker to 3D World and went to town. It's like the video game equivalent of fix your art people on Twitter. You don't engage with the levels, you just glide over them. What's the point of the obstacles that the developers created? What's the point of having a fast character like Toad anymore? Being this fast used to be a reward for the mastering the cat dive glitch, or the crouching on ice glitch. Now it just feels like the developer's giving you an easy out, saying, this game's boring, let's just go play our new cool side note instead, alright? I hate that stupid port! Oh, yeah, also the camera controls are worse than the original. Now, I understand why all these changes were made. They are made because there weren't enough buttons on the DS to play the original in the way that it was intended. They had to make compromises. And sure, that's a valid reason, but I ask you, if you need to severely compromise a game to the point where it feels like it was shoehorned in for the sake of a marketing gimmick, what's the point? Sure, you put Mario in the Nintendo waffle maker, but it doesn't hold up. No matter what system you port the original to, it will feel the same. You don't need a specific controller or a specific system for the controls to feel like how they're supposed to be. You can say that they still suck, but they suck equally across all versions. 64DS may play better on a DS than it does on the Wii U, but if there's one version of a game that's just worse to play than the other, you failed at making it playable. You wouldn't port Super Mario World to the Nintendo GameCube. It just doesn't work. And, well, sure, you can chalk all this up to, they were working with what they had at the time. They needed an option to walk slowly because the DS didn't have analog sticks. The camera sucks because there was no C-stick. The fact that only Mario can wall jump and that Wario is so terrible to play is something that you cannot.
I'm getting so aggravated that I can't even play. Oh, good, an extra life. Too bad I can't even stay up on the freaking ice to get it. Who even... You know what? I quit. The whole series is canceled. The series is canceled. Everybody, goodbye.
Sure, Mega characters have unique abilities to set them apart, but walling off one of the most integral parts of the original's moveset to just one character isn't the way to do it. Imagine if TK64 got ported to the GameCube, but this time, only Chunky can ground pound, and only Diddy can do dashing attacks, and only Tiny can do a mid-air attack. It doesn't feel right. Sure, they're uniquely defined, but they feel incomplete individually. Then you have Lanky, and he's just objectively worse to play than the rest. His jumps barely go anywhere, he runs slow, and he's just not fun to play. That's how this game feels to me. Now obviously I'm clearly exaggerating, I know, but sometimes the subtle stuff is more annoying than the glaringly weird stuff. Mario 64's controls are clearly very clunky, but because they're so clearly clunky, you can become accustomed to it easier. This game's bad control problems are more like the bus slightly drifting to one side in Desert Bus. It isn't a constant problem, but every now and then you just remember how much you hate it. Part 3. The graphics. You can argue that the original had bad textures or bad models or whatever. I would even agree with you in an objective manner, but you can't deny that Mario 64 has a unique and recognizable style. Even if it's a bit scuffed, it's still wacky, fun, vibrant, goofy Mario worlds. You could also argue that the DS version has better models, textures, or whatever. And while you may be right objectively speaking, look at these two. Why does this one look like Piss World? In 64, the grass is so vibrant, it feels like a field of emeralds, and the rocks and dirt are just such an inviting shade of orange. It complements the grass perfectly. Even the sky is the perfect shade of blue, everything just pops. It looks good. Now look at the DS version. All the colors are so washed out, everything looks so sterile. The dirt is noticeably unsaturated, the grass looks like it's dying, and even the sky isn't as vibrant. Yes, the textures are much better looking than the original, but if we do this, which one looks more inviting? Which one looks like it would be a better time? This sterilization even extends to the characters themselves. All of the enemies and the characters and so on were replaced by their new designs, and it just looks weird. Mario 64 Mario is not a good model, but it feels at home in his game. All of the models do. In DS, it feels like you took a game and then pasted Mario in Unreal Mario over the top of it. They robbed the game of its janky, early 3D charm and then replaced it with the New Soup homogenization before New Soup even existed. I feel like the problem is most present when you look at Bowser. This just feels wrong. 64 Bowser was doofy, but it felt right for the game. This Bowser, this doesn't look like a Bowser you could grab by the tail and swing around. This Bowser is too intimidating for Mario 64. He was big and lumpy in the original, and it felt right to just grab him and swing him around. He felt present. This Bowser just feels off. These new models don't look like they belong in the same game as the levels. It's like taking the weird, lumpy, puke-colored Mario sprite from the original Mario game and then replacing it with the first Google image result for Mario render. It feels like you just green screened these new models into places. These characters don't interact with the environment. They're just over top of them. They don't feel at home. Their colors don't match, the quality of the models don't match. Everything just feels wrong to me. This game was a weird mashup of a faithful remake with the stage models and the textures, and a reimagining with the early 2000s designs of the characters being pasted onto the screen. I would much rather have a game with a good, cohesive art style than one that flaunts how amazing its graphics are. Graphics are a gimmick. They will look outdated in a matter of years if they try to be nothing more than impressive, especially when the bar for impressive is Nintendo DS graphics.
Part 4. The Mario 64 DS completely misunderstands what was so special about the original. People don't remember it so fondly because of red coins or because of the hidden aquarium. Remember because of the vast world that you could explore and find new things in. Remember because of the hours I spent trying to decipher the meaning of the fountain's plaque. Remember because of the rush of finding the Watch for Rolling Rocks star. They remember because of Yoshi on top of the castle. They remember because of ghost medallions, because of Bowser rooms, because of personalized copies. People didn't want to find Luigi because he's Luigi. No, they wanted to find Luigi because the mystery of him not being there was more compelling than a "you can now play as Luigi" message popping up after getting 120 stars. The collective experience of checking the fountain or killing boos or whatever other nonsense in hopes of finding a super hidden secret is what made it fun. Now it's just a thing you get in the middle of a game. People didn't love Yoshi on top of the castle because he's Yoshi. They loved it because he was nowhere else in the game, he said a few things and he just left. It wasn't because seeing a green dinosaur was cool. It was the feeling of accomplishment, the reward for doing all the things. It felt personal. It felt special. Starting the player out as Yoshi makes them feel nothing other than, oh, I guess I'm Yoshi now. People don't love the Wario apparition because he's Wario. They love it because the idea of a ghost being in Peach's castle is intriguing. The idea of something scary being in an otherwise cute, happy kids game was interesting. They don't want to play as a dumb, fat, waddling German man. They just wanted mystery. Sure, Battle Fortress and Sunshine Beach are cool. Sure, Silver Stars and Star Switches are interesting. But they aren't substitutes for the main draw of Mario 64. The thing that made it iconic in the first place. Wonder. The wonder of an eel's underwater cave. The wonder of jumping inside a volcano to find a secret path. The wonder of some flavor text that devs never thought twice about. The wonder of re-examining the world around you, hoping, with childlike imagination. What could be just under that rock? What's in that cave? Where does this path lead? I'll tell you where it leads. It leads to another boring, 12-foot diameter room with some Goombas and a silver star. 7 out of 10, better than Sunshine.